This week in court, prosecutor Mavis Cheong alleged that the Extron and Ferner bonds were not genuine investments, but merely a means to channel CHC building funds towards the crossover project. Sharon Tan, who is on the stand for the 11th day, maintained that the directors of Extron and Ferner had independently made commercial decisions to use the bond proceeds to fund the crossover. She also told the court that the church's board had approved of the bond transactions. In reply to the DPP's suggestion that it was incredulous that the CHC board would approve of investing $24.5 million into a company without seeing any reports on the company, Tan said, "This is how the board works, Your Honour, that they placed their trust in Eng Han for any investment presentation, and especially when this investment has to do with Huayu's factory, it gave them confidence." Although the agreement between AMEC and CHC allowed Chew to invest into Ferner without board approval, Tan said that former fund manager Chew had been accountable to the board and made verbal presentations on the investment plans during board meetings. The prosecution also took issue with Sharon Tan's testimony that board approval had been sought for the SOF investment. Referring to the minutes of a board meeting on 31st October 2009, the DPP pointed out that there was nothing to indicate that the board had considered and approved the SOF investment, and even if approval had been given during the meeting, it only came after the SOF monies had been disbursed. Tan admitted that it was an oversight on her part and that she should have emailed the board for approval before disbursing the funds. Tan told the court that at that time, her mindset was that the board had already approved a previous plan to invest into the SOF, and the board members were aware that the purpose was to use that investment for the redemption of the Extron and Ferner bonds. In essence, the SOF investment by CHC was done to achieve the same purpose that was approved, and a higher quantum had been deliberated at the board meeting. The board was aware of how the entire series of transactions and how the funds would flow in this redemption plan. The DPP continued to press the point that Tan had deliberately misled the auditors by creating a paper trail to support the plan the defendants had come up with for the round-tripping of church funds. When the auditors read the minutes, they would have an inaccurate understanding that the figures and discussions had been done at the board meeting itself instead of the fact that discussions took place after the board meeting and figures were also inserted sometime later. Sharon Tan told the court that on hindsight, she should have stated what was discussed instead of updating the minutes. She had followed the board's practice of putting only final decisions into the official board meeting minutes, but it was never her intention to deceive the auditors. It is the prosecution's case that the auditors were not told the whole truth of the plan to use the advance rental licensing agreement to redeem both the Extron and Ferner bonds. DPP Cheong pointed out that there were no records of discussions on how Ferner bonds would be redeemed and that monies from the Special Opportunities Fund would be loaned to Ultimate Assets, who would loan the monies to Ferner for the redemption of bonds. The auditors were also allegedly not told that surplus from the ARLA will be invested by Extron into Ferner, who would then return the loan from Ultimate Assets, and Ultimate Assets would return the amount to AMEC, who would give the monies to CHC as returns from the investments into the SOF. The DPP charged that it was the intention of the defendants that Auditor Sim did not see the other side of the equation. Sharon Tan disagreed, saying that she was told there was no need to bring these transactions up to the auditors. The DPP showed that Sharon Tan had participated in various instances of scenario planning to allow for Extron bonds to be redeemed. These plans included the conversion of the bond liability to advance rental, thus giving the defendants time to find other ways of filling the hole in Extron. The finance manager disagreed, explaining that the advance rental was still a liability in Extron's books, which is payable to City Harvest, and there is no buying time because the number of years remained the same. According to Sharon Tan, Baker Tilly Auditor Sim Guan Seng had told her to clear the bonds off CHC's books and keep it simple, after an audit meeting with the CHC team. The prosecution alleged that this was merely a story told in order to conceal the reason why the defendants set about clearing the bonds off the books. Tan disagreed, maintaining that there was no reason for me to conceal the reason and there was no benefits that I gained to have this whole redemption exercise. The City Harvest trial resumes on September 29th. For more information, log on to citynews.sg. I'm Andrea Lim for City News, Singapore.